past 10 years, I've been conducting expeditions, documenting chronicles, and interviewing people pertaining to the subject of Sasquatch. Hello, my name's Todd Standing. I'm the man who takes people out into the field and has them either eyewitness or live interact with a Sasquatch. I've done this on multiple occasions, did it on national television with Survivorman, and I have been amazed by the media and even internet silence about the significance of what has happened or what did happen in 2013 in season 2 of the episode of Survivorman Bigfoot, where I took him to Radium, where I have filmed and have exceptional knowledge of a troop of Sasquatch that currently reside there even to this day. What happened in that episode is enormously significant, and I'm going to show you why. Especially what we're going to get to at the end of this video, which is the top of a head of a Sasquatch that he filmed, which was absolutely amazing, especially when you compare it to other pieces of footage that I've got. So let's talk about the episode. If you want to view this episode, which is amazing and spectacular and fantastic, go to download Survivorman TV. It's all the stolen copies that you can get online are pretty much garbage. I subscribe to Survivorman TV. I'll tell you, Survivorman is the real deal. I've worked with him in the field. The man gets out there, he kicks ass, he goes out backcountry, does stuff that is terribly dangerous and you should not do without a high degree of survival skill. He does that stuff, hikes up mountains, and one of the first things I want to talk about in the episode that he mentions about 20 minutes in is it takes boots on the ground to do that. And that's what's really missing. There's so many people that are armchair quarterbacks that don't have a bloody clue. Let's not even talk about them. But even the great people, the theorists that are doing this in a laboratory environment, I guess, where they're theorizing this about Sasquatch, that about Sasquatch. The only way this is going to get done is boots on the ground. I've talked to many people about it. I've spoken with Jimmy Chilcott. There'll be a video involving him and a lot of stuff because what he did was incredible and amazing with the fingerprint acknowledgement of the foot dermal ridges that we'll do in the next video. But even him, the man Jimmy Chilcott, came and did the documentary, the incredible documentary Sasquatch Meets Science by Doug Hasek. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's an amazing guy. What an incredible body of work Sasquatch Meets Science is. And Jimmy Chilcott came forward and said, I mean, he's a fingerprint expert, an exceptionally advanced fingerprint expert with experience fingerprinting primates, so gorillas. Anyways, he came forward and said something that is very profound. And I love it when people do this. When a real expert who knows his stuff cold comes and does an analysis like Jimmy Chilcott did and says Sasquatch, at the end of it, he comes to a conclusion, and his conclusion is definitive. Sasquatch is real. There is a primate that exists on the continent of North America that is yet undiscovered. And that's what he said, and that's the reality, and that's what he knows. Gosh, I love people like that. I remember taking a tracker out a few years ago, a tracker from Colorado, this incredible, amazing, tremendously experienced tracker who's experienced with very similar substrates to the area that I took him in Banff, Canada. And I took the man out into an area where there's berries at certain times of year, and it was dangerous because there were grizzly bears. Grizzly bears didn't faze him at all. Black bears didn't worry him. The mountain lions didn't faze him whatsoever. This tracker went backcountry with me and found a Sasquatch track. Looked at it, studied it for a few minutes, came over to me and said, I'd like to go home now. And I thought, you know, this guy doesn't know about Sasquatch. He's an expert tracker and he's just ready to give up. And he said, that is a heavy footprint from a large bipedal primate, similar to what I've seen in videos, similar to what you've shown me. Sasquatch are real. Those are large, giant primates. Oh my God, that thing is huge and powerful. I want to go home now because that's a fresh track. That track is hours old. And I concurred with him. That track was a fresh Sasquatch track. And he was done. He was like, send me home to Colorado because he can deal with grizzly bears. We know about grizzly bears. We've read about grizzly bears. There have been books written about grizzly bears. We understand grizzly bear behavior. We understand black bears. We understand mountain lions. This is an unknown species of primate. And this man, with his knowledge and experience of tracking, immediately said, that's a real track. That can't be faked. Sasquatch are real. I want to go home. And why did he want to go home? Because I don't know much about He didn't know anything about Sasquatch. That primate could, for all he knows, run out and break his neck within the next 5 minutes. So, because animals are dangerous, primates are dangerous, gorillas are dangerous. When we first started dealing with gorillas, there was a tremendous amount of garbage and you know, just the initial discovery process is very painful and very difficult. And he immediately understood, Sasquatch is real, I don't know much about them, perhaps I'll go learn, but for now, I want to go home because that scares me. And I loved that response. It just blew my mind. So anyways, the whole point of this is, it's really boots on the ground that we need. Boots on the ground. Jimmy Chilcott is sick, like many other people are sick of the theorizing and the analysis of evidence. We need boots on the ground, and that's what's happening with my cooperation. We're boots on the ground. I've expanded dramatically. I am immensely impressed with what we've been able to accomplish as a group, and what's coming out right now is going to be amazing. But for now, we're going to talk about the Survivorman Bigfoot episode, Season 2, Radium. Let's get into it right now. So first thing let's talk about is this is the second time he's been there. He's going to spend a couple days. We've tried to get in with the helicopter. I knew the helicopter wasn't going to work. You can't see this, but in the helicopter scene, I was right beside the pilot on the opposite side, and Les wanted to go give it a try, see if we could helicopter up there, and obviously that wasn't going to happen by a long shot. There was no place to land, and the mountains are dangerous. This helicopter pilot, it was scary flying around up there, because in the mountains you get all these different pockets of winds, and the air comes in hard in one way and the wind will blast you in another direction, but absolutely nowhere to land. The terrain is rugged and rough as hell. There was no chance we were landing anywhere. So I went back to, again, remember, only 2 days. And he says this in the episode. We'd been there for a couple days, dickering around on the bottom with a bunch of stuff that he wanted to try that I wasn't really interested in, but he wanted to try some new stuff. And I let him have at it, and nothing of significant came of that, like I thought, like I knew it wouldn't, because there's just another level of understanding that I'm at, where I really get why Sasquatch are doing things, how they think, how they're perceiving things, and all this stuff will come out in the next year or two. But really, the only place we were going to have success was going up that mountain like he did. And as he always does, the man hiked up that mountain like a beast. He's tough as nails, got his butt up the mountain, and he got there first. And when he got there first, he found tracks. So that was pretty cool. Again, he looked at the tracks. He saw toes in them. I mean, just another little piece of evidence that's, you know, we saw tracks the year before. The year before, oh my God. The year before we had, I talked about this in the other review I did of the first season of Survivorman Bigfoot in Radium, where the Sasquatch rock knocked to him. Not only was there rock knocks, but when we went the next day, the rock that was used to make the knocking sounds was there. It was at about 5 feet high, sitting on the rock. Like one rock was on top of another big rock. That's the rock that was used to knock. So the Sasquatch left that rock there and left a big Sasquatch footprint in the ground. He was there to, you know, have some fun with us and play around with us and have a good time with us. So he left the rock, he left a footprint. And the other thing that I think was amazingly significant last year again was the Sasquatch cries that we heard. What happened was yells. Is we got up to the altitude, and this is in that episode, and Les says he just heard two sounds that he couldn't explain, and the sounds were this. From a place on the mountains where I can't get to. I don't think any man can get up there. The rocks are jagged and the terrain is nasty and it's steep and almost impossible to get up to. That's why the Sasquatch are up there, and they're interacting with me, and they're making those sounds, because I don't think they had any fear of us coming up there, because it was just such an impossibly difficult way to get to, especially from where we were coming up. Perhaps on the other side of the mountain it's a little easier, but we just weren't getting to them. So they were perfectly acceptable. Again, two different Sasquatch. One, again, if I was to explain it from looking at it, one was in a direction up over to our left when you were facing it, and another one was on another mountain range over to the right. And the yells were even different. One was like a deep, and the other one was more like a. So different Sasquatch were calling down to us the previous year, which was amazing. And then we heard the wood knocks down below. Nothing in nature makes that tok, 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 tok sound. It doesn't happen. And so they had triangulated around us, and then, you know, we had that rock knocking. So anyways, last year was tremendously significant, and I was excited to go see what we could accomplish in another 2. Last year was only 1 day. up on the mountain. 1 day, 1 night. This year we're going to do 2, where I'm coming up with him the first day, and then he's staying alone the second day. And really get that through your head. 2 days only, not a month, not a week. Nobody goes out and studies gorillas or chimpanzees in a day or 2. So the fact that this immense, incredible success was generated in such a short period of time is amazing. Blows my mind. It's mind-boggling. So make sure you understand that. Really, really short-term stuff is what's transpiring here. So let's continue. So the first thing we get there is I've put up little DNA catchers that I've just invented based on the natural terrain. Les is very impressed with them. I was very grateful for that. And so we gathered a hair. That hair came back as, you know, it was Sasquatch DNA. It was a Sasquatch hair. There's some controversy around it because of the way Sasquatch DNA showed up in the test that I had. It wasn't nobody had the balls enough to do a full genome test with me. So I'd been talking with Todd Standing and other geneticists, and when it came down to here's the hair, go test it, they disappear. They have no intestinal fortitude, because I've been trying to get somebody to test DNA for me for a decade, and I have Professor Meldrum, John Bitternagel, PhDs helping me, and people just won't ball up and test the DNA. So it's been a very frustrating road, but I was very happy with these results. Even though they were a little obscure, the DNA test was done by PaleoDNA, and anyway, I was just very happy with it. And so up there where there are tracks being found, where there are large screaming noises from unknown creatures, and I've seen Sasquatch and filmed them, I gathered Sasquatch DNA. No big deal, don't worry about it. So what happens the first night is a camera gets knocked over by just a rodent, which is a really weird fluke thing. You cannot blame me for a rodent knocking over the damn camera. It was just crawling around our base camp there. It knocked over the camera, and when the Sasquatch came and took the apples, the camera was knocked over, so we didn't get the footage, which was very disappointing. So obviously we weren't going to make that mistake the second night, but and in the episode he talks about, Les is so astounded, he actually says this is the most experience he's ever had. This is the, what did he say exactly? This is the most significant experience he ever had, because we put those apples up 15 feet, over 4 meters high. So obviously, I mean, a rodent wasn't taking them. They were large, red, delicious apples. They were taken by something, again, like Jeff Meldrum said, it's like something with hands plucked it away, because there's no sign of bears, there's no sign of scratches from their claws. A wolf couldn't get up there, a mountain lion could, but would have no interest in an apple. No known species would be able to remove those apples and do that without us having some sign or some knowledge. If a raven came by, there's no bloody ravens up there, for God's sake. There's no sign of ravens for an ocean of trees and mountains over. So it wasn't ravens. And again, I'm not going to pull any punches about it. I know Sasquatch are real. I filmed Sasquatch. I'm trying to prove to the world that Sasquatch exists, and I'm telling you, a Sasquatch took those apples. Les can be as skeptical as he wants, and you're going to see definitive, amazing, incredible proof at the end of this video. But for now, let's just continue. So I've learned to teach in a method that was taught to me by my First Nations teacher. And the way they teach is you don't get the knowledge until you're ready for the knowledge. It's kind of like that old adage, when the student is ready, the master will appear. When you're ready for the knowledge, it'll be granted to you. And if Les doesn't ask the question, if somebody I'm teaching doesn't ask the question, they're not ready for the answer, if that makes sense. So there's lots of stuff, a ton of things that I just didn't talk about with Les and we didn't go through. And I think that also allows this whatever is going to transpire, whatever successes we have or failures we have, it's going to allow it to transpire naturally. And it's wonderful that it happens that way, because what Les doesn't know is the Sasquatch, they have this little thing they love to do. They like my long, my blonde hair. And so what I do every night, and what I did this night, and Les doesn't know about this again, is I take pieces of my hair out and I put them on a branch, even a little further away from where the apples were. And that was how I knew that it was a Sasquatch that took those apples. If it was a raven or something else, my strands of hair that I wrapped around a branch wouldn't have been gone, and they were gone. And the reason I do that is because if I don't leave those strands out, the Sasquatch come at night and they'll rip a chunk out, just tear a big piece out. And this might sound ridiculous, but when I talked to Baruti Gattigas about this, who's a the world's leading primatologist with orangutans. She told me orangutans will do that. Orangutans, if they see that long, especially blonde hair, they're very curious about it, and they'll rip out big chunks of it. So that was one behavior. And one of the reasons I would say I substantiated that apples had been taken the first night when I was there by Sasquatch. Now on the second night, which is very, very interesting. So of course I was gone, and so I was at base camp with Les's crew. So there's no way, it would be ridiculous to try to go up that mountain at night. You would probably not survive. You can't be puttering around at night you'd be like, if you walked up that mountain at night, you'd be like a fish that's wounded jiggling in the ocean. The sharks will come get you. And in this case, it'd be mountain lions. It's just so dangerous to move around at night like that. So anyways, you don't go up the mountain unless you're an idiot. But I was not going up the mountain that night because I was with Les's crew at base camp when he filmed the top of the head of a Sasquatch, again, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so significant is the fact that, again, I've told Les nothing, and he doesn't know about what other behaviors the Sasquatch have done to me while I've been up on that mountain, because again, in total, he spent 3 days up on top of that mountain. I've spent 100. I've spent 100 other days on top of other mountains all within that area before I found this area. So I'm extremely experienced in the area. But one habit the Sasquatch do is they'll do what I call a walk by. So they'll come and walk past you. And if you don't do anything, which I've seen them do, I just pretend like I'm sleeping, they'll walk by closer. And if you don't do anything, they'll walk by and they'll come and sit on you. And they've done this to me on multiple occasions. It's very scary to have a Sasquatch come over, and I don't know why they do it, and it's a strange behavior, but I think in years to come, people will find that they just do this, because I've seen them do this even in Montana and Washington, to me personally, and now here in British Columbia, it's the same behavior. So it's just something that they do, and I know it might sound strange, but Les experienced it. And Les never told me about it. I never knew that he had this experience until I actually watched the episode. And I haven't ever discussed this with him at all. But the Sasquatch do that. When you're sleeping and you're not waking up and they're kind of walking around you, they come and sit on you. And that's exactly what happened to him. And he talks about it in the episode where he's like, well, it kind of felt like a dream, but then he emphasizes later, it felt so vivid and so real, I don't feel like it was a dream. And it's because it wasn't a dream. That's what they do. I know Les, when he hikes up that mountain and you're getting all that fresh air, you sleep a little deeper because the oxygen content is so good, the air is so fresh, and you've got that high altitude exercise. Something happens to you where you have just a deeper sleep, and he'd gone through that. So when you're sleeping deeper, you're less likely to wake up. The Sasquatch, I would hypothesize, they walked past him a couple times, they didn't notice because they just walked by silently. And so before they took the apples, or maybe while they were taking the apples, a smaller Sasquatch went and took the apples, and the bigger guy, who I know does this, who I call Jake, who I filmed, who's the Video 5 Sasquatch, probably went up to Les and did that little sit on him thing. And when they do that to you, it's funny because in 3 steps, he'll be in the bush and gone, where you can't see him. So if he sat on Les and Les struggled to get out, you think, well, why didn't Les see anything? And the answer is, the Sasquatch probably took 2 steps and was in the bush. As fast as Les could pull his arm out, open his eyes and focus, the Sasquatch would simply have easily walked off and been gone from his visual ability to see into the wilderness, because I know this has happened to me on many occasions, and I feel the odds, I don't think it's a coincidence that Sasquatch sit on me unless had that experience happen to him. So really awesome, profound, cool evidence moving forward. And now let's get to the next topic.
Which is the topic you've been waiting for. So here's Les and I putting apples up before I leave base camp for the day. Now this is me, I came back a couple years later, so this is just a shot to give the relative height. I'm about 6'5" with my boots on, and you'll see here, this is the 7-foot point, and here is the 8-foot point. So let's zoom in now on that 8-foot point, and you'll see here, when I superimpose into the Sasquatch head, it's approximately about 8 feet in the air is where the top of this head is. And when superimposed with another Sasquatch image you might recognize of mine, this is Jake. This is Sasquatch I filmed in 2010, and you can see his head matches up and aligns almost perfectly. This is not the same individual, but this is probably his brother or a relative or an animal from the same troop. Again, so this is, and I'm actually going to tell you his name. This is Jonas. So a Sasquatch I know quite well. This is my video 3 Sasquatch that I filmed. Top of the head matches up again perfectly. And here's Jonas again. the top of his head that Les Stroud filmed all by himself. And this is Jake, the enormous Sasquatch that actually comes by and likely is the one that went and sat on Les. At the time in 2010 when I filmed him, he was 8'6", absolutely enormous, and an amazing Sasquatch.
That's it. That's Jonas. He's a Sasquatch that at the time when we filmed him, when Les Stroud filmed the top of the head of this particular Sasquatch, I called Jonas. He was approximately 13 years old. He weighed in excess of about 400 pounds, and his track was about approximately 14 inches. So, yeah, that's, I mean, I don't know what else to say. After Les Stroud found tracks, multiple tracks, tree breaks, structures, heard sounds that he can't explain, rock knocks he can't explain, yells and screams from creatures that he can't explain, he filmed the top of a head of something unexplainable. And I'm going to tell you, after 3 days, it's tremendous success. I am the man that takes people out into the wilderness and has them live interact with Sasquatch that I have become very familiar with. There are multiple troops I've been studying over the Pacific Northwest. My troop in Radium, obviously they're the ones I have the best results with. I've been studying them since 2008, approximately late 2008. I started filming them in 2009 with a particular video that's I call video 4. 2010 I filmed the hell out of Jake, who I've had immense success with, and you have to understand, if I'm getting this success, and this is Diane Fossey taking people out to see her gorillas. If a photographer went out to go and look for gorillas, he would never find them, never. So it takes 8 years for a primatologist to successfully start doing things and having, well, great success with a group of gorillas. It's been 8 years that I've been studying this troop of Sasquatch now, over 8 years. And the successes I'm having are absolutely amazing and fantastic, and I'm really excited about the future. The study of Sasquatch is happening. I mean, the stuff that I showed on Survivorman was such superficial stuff. We are light years beyond that, and just an incredible, amazing species. Every new thing I learn about them, even, it's not so much I'm learning from them, it's what they're teaching me. Every new thing they teach me just brings me a step closer to understanding how we haven't discovered them and why we are at a point of, people are going away from nature and learning less about tracking, less about the wilderness, less about how amazing animals are and the species and the wilderness and how brilliant it is. They're more into technology, they're more into video games and movies and computers, and that's moving away from nature, away from the wilderness, and that's what Sasquatch are. They are the embodiment of that. So anyways, tremendous stuff coming. I'm really excited. My documentary is coming out right away, and the previews are coming out, and I'm gonna punch the whole world in the face in the next 6 weeks. It's all coming out because I want this species accepted. I want this species acknowledged by science, studied by science. As much as I can do, it's just a little group, just me and a few people, and we're doing the best we can, but there's no research money for this. I go to work 40 hours a week. I have a job. I'm a regular guy. And this, to really, like Diane Fossey, Jane Goodall, Broody Gattagus, they all have funding. They spend years in the wilderness, and they do, without funding, there would be no forward research in the field of primatology. And these are primates that are real. We just don't accept them, but there needs to be funding. There needs to be money that goes into this. I'm hoping so that the documentary that I did has been renamed. It's with a new executive producer. It's all coming out. It's going to be called, here it is right now, it's going to be called Bigfoot Discovery. Discovering Bigfoot, my apologies. And the preview is amazing. It's coming out right away. And what we're going to do is fantastic. Again, I want this species accepted and acknowledged. I take people out and I show them Sasquatch. It's what I do. And what I do on my own is amazing. The book that I have written is going to be incredible, and it's going to blow your mind, all the stuff that's going on. This is an amazing, incredible species. It's for most people, it's impossible to understand that this species could exist. And I understand how they feel that way. How could we not have discovered them? And the reason that we haven't discovered them is because they're that amazing. They're that incredible. They'll blow your mind at that kind of level. And that's why it's so impossible for you to believe that this species exists, because what they do is almost seemingly impossible, but it's not. It's very possible, and it's a reality, and we just have to acknowledge that. and I don't know. Anyways, I'm smashing down the door. All the stuff that's coming out in the next few weeks, it's a big deal, and yeah. So I'm on Twitter, or no, so I'm not on Twitter. I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook. So if you want to keep up with me, Instagram and Facebook, you can friend me or tag me or whatever the hell it is you do there. I'm putting weekly photographs up on Instagram, just mostly personal stuff for mine, and Facebook. I keep people in the loop as best I can. Of course, my YouTube channel is a juggernaut. I've got tens of thousands of followers on it, and that's where my videos and everything will be. It's my primary place is YouTube, really. So yeah, keep you informed. The next 4 weeks, big, huge, amazing, fantastic stuff coming up. It will be the late fall 2017 that I have new videos, new documentary, amazing, incredible stuff. I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to put together, and it's a very exciting time for me. Lots of pressure, lots coming on, but I'm ready for it, and stay tuned. More stuff coming right up. Thanks.